In America, California's beach and surf culture has come a long way. 100 years ago, people began to settle on the coast when Spanish sailors discovered the beaches. Later came the rancheros, who began to occupy the land, which was called Pacific City at the time. Families began to settle along the beaches, and if we use Huntington as an example, they already had an electric car line which extended from LA to Long Beach along the Southern Pacific into Newport Beach. In 1910, they built a bathhouse and saltwater pump on the beach. Shortly after came the rail line, and Pacific City became Huntington Beach. When the famous pier was built, it was 1,000 feet long and made of wood. The seaside city began to grow and had all the prospects of a great future. It was also becoming popular with tourists. At the same time, a new era began when oil was discovered. Standard Oil used the land for drilling, and Huntington Beach struck oil, which pumped out 10,050 barrels a day. In a month, the population grew from 1,500 to more than 6,000 as oil workers and businessmen flooded into the city. The oil boom of the 20s brought a new prosperity to the beaches. It was the beginning of a new era. Simultaneously, another important discovery came to the beaches, changed them, and made them what they are today. It was surfing. It was the early 20s when Duke Kahanamoku popularized surfing in the area. He was from Hawaii, and everybody simply called him Duke.
Well, Duke was a swimmer. You know, he was more than a surfer, he was an Olympic champion. And in Hawaii, they had no swimming pools where he could train. They just timed him out in the ocean and went, oh my God, do you see how fast this guy's going? So he would come to California to train. And my father was a lifeguard and a swimmer, so Duke would come over and train. And then that's when he started, you know, bringing over the surfboards and everybody started riding waves.
Duke was a champion swimmer, and they called him the human fish. Seeing his athletic ability, the lifeguards made their own boards in 1927, like Blackie August. They began to use the homemade boards, and the idea of surfing inspired other people to give it a try. Lifeguard and beach lover Dorian Paskovitz remembers his days in San Onofre in the 50s.
During that time, it was just a matter of getting enough money to bring your board up here. What was your board? It was 14-foot paddle board, or it was a solid redwood board, 11 and a half feet long. And this was the general equipment culture.
The natural surroundings also differed to those of today.
Chewing on a piece of grass, walking down the road. Tell me, how long you gonna stay here, Joe? Some people say this town don't look good.
Oh, it was completely pristine. Nothing that you see here was there then. Nothing. Just the cliffs and the sand. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Including no people. You could come down here Monday, and you could stay from Monday to Friday, and you wouldn't meet another person.
After World War II, the cities began to carry on with these beach activities. This is the period during which different influences made surfing popular, like Blackie August shooting the pier, or the book Gidget that came out in 1957. Together with the movie based on the book, it took surfing all over the United States.
How the story came about was that my mom and dad would drive me to Malibu, and I turned to my dad and I said, I want to write a story about what's going on at Malibu. Because I saw a subculture. I saw something so different from my high school peers, how my neighbors lived. And my dad said to me very simply, tell me everything and I'll write the story for you.
I'm a surf bum. You know, ride the waves, eat, sleep, not a care in the world.
I think the Gidget movie is the start of the billion-dollar surf industry.
Bam! It just hit and it spread like wildfire.
1, 2,
That same year, the first U.S. Surf Championships were held at Huntington City. Some years later, ABC began to televise them. The whole country began to get a glimpse of surfing. The waves spilled over to a lot of beach communities. The lifestyle of the beaches spread around the country and drew the people to the beaches like bees to honey.
We call it Surf City, USA. Surf City, USA.
I think people were fascinated. They couldn't understand it completely, and we were so dedicated out there all the time. I surfed Swami's Point during the winter, Christmas Day, when it was, 50 degrees, and the water was maybe a little bit warmer, but not much. We had no wetsuit, no nothing, and we wouldn't have not done it for anything. We didn't even cross our minds not to go out.
Other beach culture influences took hold, like the HB City's first surf shop, Gordon Surfboards, which opened in 1955. Surfboards were no longer big balsa boards. Foam and resin was now used. And musically speaking, Jan and Dean released the first surf record, HB Surf City, USA.
And lots of fun hanging there.
California is just unique. It's history, with surfing and beach culture. The whole Gidget thing and the Beach Boys and the surf music and Dick Dale and all of that stuff. And forever and ever, Southern California will be known as what I think the birthplace of surf culture.
And the cult spread, from a barefoot adventure of some self-exiled frontiersmen to an accepted sport, and it's not the end.